towards the actual installation, you can get to the setup files by following this link. It's basically microsoft.com/SQL Server. Let me go ahead and show you this so you have some idea. And once you get in there, we are pretty much going to select download the evaluation. But let me go through this first. So like I said, you will select that option. Then you are going to choose SQL Server 2012. I will pick the 32-bit version, and I'm going to choose 3 files. You can also download an ISO image, which basically will let you burn the files onto a DVD, which is also convenient if you are installing on multiple machines. You can install on one and then move on to another one, and so on and so forth. But like I said, we are going to use this option. We will install to this location. So before I even get going, let me browse to this, make sure it is up and running. We don't have any files in there as of yet. And then on the next screen we will continue with the full installation. So before I do that, let me go to the link and follow these steps that are recommended. So like I mentioned, I will select download the evaluation, and here you can browse the information and decide what you are trying to do. In our case, I need to download SQL Server 2012. Okay, and depending on what option you choose, like I mentioned, you could also do an ISO image. If you have a 64-bit machine, you could certainly do that. I'm going to select a 32-bit version. My language is United States English, and then I'm going to click on this button. Now this thing, I did notice that I am running Firefox, and I think I was having a little bit of tough time getting to this, so maybe we'll give that a minute. And in the meantime, I'm also going to load up my Internet Explorer, and let me see if I can copy this link again. Okay, and paste it here. Sometimes there are issues with a certain page depending on what browser you are using. So again, I'm going to click on download eval. I am using IE for this case. Download this one, and then select United States English, and then click on this one. Now when I do this in IE, I believe I should be getting something. So here we have something. It's asking that is it okay to download, and I will say okay or allow. And now it's asking me where would you like to download these files. So like I mentioned, I'm going to go to let's see, my computer, C drive, and then SQL install. Okay, that's where I would like to download these files. So this will take a few minutes to download. So for now, I will go ahead and pause the video. So the files are still downloading. In fact, you can see that this one and this one is already downloaded, and the one on the top, it's still going along. It's a little bit it's a fairly big file, 1.62 gigabytes. Okay, but if you go to the folder, you can see that these two files are already downloaded. What I'm going to in fact do is I have these files saved in my temp drive from a prior install. So you can see that here are the 3 files: the core, install, and language. And if you just want to show you that these are basically the same files. I had downloaded these in March. So while this is downloading, I'm actually going to show you what you need to do on your end. In fact, let me go ahead and delete this this folder here. What it does is when you extract these files, what it's going to basically do is create that folder. Okay, so once the 3 files are downloaded, you're going to come here and double click on install.exe. That is going to do basically the unloading of the box. If you go back to your SQL installation, it actually does explain this in detail, but we are basically going to do that. Now while this is unloading, I'm actually going to go ahead and pause this video again, so I will be back. So we are back. It is almost done extracting, and you can see that this is going to ctemp this folder, and then looks like it's done. Now if I go back to my temp folder, you'll notice that today, in fact, it's 5:30, and this is just extracted today. So once you're done, once it's done with it processing, you go into this folder, which is SQL full x86. I'm going to go ahead and actually let me close this one since we're done, and then all you really need to do is double click on setup.exe. okay, and this will say SQL Server 2011 which is actually 2012. Okay, and since we had downloaded this in March, we are getting a SQL Server 2012 release candidate 0. The steps are identical for the release to the market, but just be aware of that. Now let's go ahead and see what happens here. I think we should be getting, there you go. So this is what they call it as the SQL Server Installation Center. There is lots of information in there, some documentation requirements that we looked at, other things like a configuration checker. This is a great tool, Upgrade Advisor. If you have an older version of, let's say 2008 or 2005, you can run this separately and try to get some idea on what needs to happen. I'm going to skip all of this and go straight to installation. Okay. In fact, before I run this, I do want to show you a couple of things in here. So we downloaded everything. We are using ctemp. Okay. Now, as far as in the actual installation, we showed you that we needed to click on the .exe file. Apologize for the typo, but basically we are going to run the setup. Now there are some important considerations, and we will highlight some other ones as we go along, but you know, depending on what you're trying to do, you should only install what's needed. So let's say if you're not going to be using you know, reporting services or analysis, there is really no need to install that on your machine. You should only go for what's necessary, I guess, in your case. Now, one thing that you should be aware of as far as best practices, that you should be running SQL services under a domain account. What I mean by SQL services are things like database engine, integration service, agent service, and some of the other ones. It's always a good security practice to run this as a domain account, and we will cover this as we go through the installation, but I wanted to mention that. Next point is the data files, which, if you're not aware, SQL Server has two files. It's got a .mdf file, which is the actual data file, and then it's also got a .ldf file, which is a log file. Ideally, these should be present or placed in separate drives per database, and the reason for that is performance. Log file is always written to, which basically keeps transactions of your database activity. So you know, that drive is going to be very high in write activity, as opposed to a data file, which is going to be read and write. Okay, so I did want to mention that. This last part has to do with uninstallation. So let me switch back to my installation center, if you will. Now in here you'll see that there are a few options that you can choose from. I'm interested in installing new SQL Server standalone option, so I'm going to select the first one. Now do realize that I do have a default instance running on this. In fact, while this is running, I can show you. If I go to Start, All Programs, Microsoft SQL 2012, Management Studio, I've got a few things going on over here, and I'll come back to this screen in a minute. But notice that I do have SQL Server 2012 up and running. In fact, the Management Studio is loading up, and I'm going to show you that I have a default instance already installed on this machine, and now what I'm going to do is install a named instance as part of this installation demo. Okay, so when this thing pulls up, if you put in a period, you can also put in the machine name, which is laptop PC, and if I connect, this will bring up my default instance of SQL Server 2012. Okay, if you haven't seen this, you'll notice that the Management Studio does look a little bit different. They've added some colors and streamlined it a bit, but now I am within SQL Server 2012. In fact, I have some databases running, and we have been running some demos on that, so I did want to highlight that for you. Now back to our setup. One of the first things it's going to do is it's going to ask for setting up support files. Okay, and if you get a warning or a failed option, which we did not, you will have to address this. If I look in my details, I have all the necessary information. The first time I did run this, I think I was missing this last one, which is the .NET 2.0